Hey guys, this is part 3 of 8.1. Part 3, okay? So not part 1, not part 2, but part 3. Make sure you watch the other 2 parts before you join us for this part. We were just wrapping up question 7 that the exchange of goods and ideas is going to explode. And the Columbian exchange and the triangular trade are going to be a big part of getting those goods back and forth between Western Europe, Western Africa, and the Americas, the New World, North and South America, right? All right, so draw a line underneath everything you just wrote all the way across your page for question 7. And here we go for some more information about the Columbian exchange and triangular trade. Okay, so looking at this graph, you guys, this graphic on here, what we have here is this arrow going from North America to Europe. This is all the things that we had over here that up until the New World is discovered by Christopher Columbus, Europe and Asia and other places, they had no idea that these products existed. So if you had lived in Europe, you know, during Roman times and Greek times, or before then or after them during the medieval period or during most of the Renaissance, if you were a European, you would have never known that pumpkins were a thing, or turkey, or squash, or pineapple, or cacao. Yeah, you guys, people in Europe had never heard of chocolate. The travesty, okay? Peanuts, potatoes, corn, tomatoes, beans, vanilla, oh my goodness, all sorts of peppers and avocados, okay, sweet potatoes, tobacco, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. These are some examples. This is not everything. So North America had all of this stuff, and it's going to start making its way over to Europe as trade goods. At the same time, if you had lived over in Europe, then you knew that this stuff on this arrow existed, but the people of the New World had never seen it before. So the New World is astonished and amazed to see all this stuff coming out of Europe. They had never over here seen grapes or turnips or onions or sugar cane. Hello, they didn't have sugar cane. Bananas, olives, peaches, pears, coffee. There was no coffee. Citrus fruits, honeybees. There was no bees over here. All types of grains, wheat, rice, barley, oats, all different types of livestock, sheep, cattle, pigs, things like that. And also a lot of diseases came from Europe over to the New World. Okay, so this is called the Columbian exchange, this back and forth of good and bad things going back and forth between Europe and the New World. Most of it was good. Unfortunately, some of it is bad, like diseases and slavery is going to be something that is also exchanged. Okay. And again, that picture doesn't show everything, guys. These are just some examples of things going both ways. Okay. So this is a game changer. I mean, think about how many new foods you're introducing into the diet, trade opportunities that are coming along, types of businesses and stuff that are going to be established because of these products moving from one continent to the other. Okay, all right. Here's just another example of the Columbian exchange. Okay, again, it gives you lots of examples of things coming from North and South America. This is, I know they cut it off here on the map because they're trying to show you everything, but this is kind of representing the Americas or the New World. Okay, and all of these things are types of things that are moving over this way. Then you've got Western Europe here, okay? Remember, Western Europe is places like Portugal, Spain, France, Germany, England, Italy, places like that, okay? Western Europe, Switzerland, that kind of stuff, all right? You have some things going from Europe down into Africa, and then you also have some things going from Africa into the New World. Now, all of these things don't necessarily come out of Africa first. Some of them start on the boat up here when they're in Europe, and make their way to Africa with this leg of the trade and then keep going. So the stuff on the bottom, some of it's from Africa, some of it's from Europe. But again, just showing you how many new goods are getting traded back and forth between these different groups of people, okay? Don't forget disease is a big factor too, unfortunately. Some negative stuff there for sure. Of course, we've got some videos on the Columbian exchange. Watch those. You'll thank me later. It'll help you understand that whole situation, which, you know, is a big deal. All right, the triangular trade. The triangular trade specifically tends to be used when you're talking about the importation of slavery into the New World, okay? Other goods traveled as well. Okay, as you guys can see on this little picture here, it's telling you from the New World, sugar, tobacco, and cotton is making its way over to Europe. And Europe is sending down textiles, which are finished cotton products like cloth that, you know, are sheets or blankets or clothing. Okay, rum and manufactured goods, things that are finished products. Manufactured goods are finished products like wood is not a finished product, but you can turn wood into furniture. Furniture would be a manufactured good that's a finished product, right? Down into Africa. And then Africa is selling slaves into the Americas. Sometimes this was through kidnapping of people who were working either in the Americas or working in Western Europe, coming in and kidnapping people from Western African tribes. But there were also some West African tribes that were enemies with other West African tribes, and they would kidnap each other through battle and just ambushing and sell them off to the slave traders coming through. So Africans were selling their own people, and white groups were coming in and also kidnapping them and selling them as well. Okay, so that's a big part of the triangular trade. Of course, there's a video clip. Take advantage of that. This is our last question, guys, for this Age of Exploration PowerPoint. Okay, some things that are going to happen. Again, this is all launching you into 8th grade. Pay attention because it's going to come back up. All right, so remember, one of the main reasons why people are off exploring is because kings and queens, the countries of Europe, they want more land. They realize land equals power and wealth, right? And when they find new land, like they come and claim some land in the New World, for example, even though Native Americans were already living here, they looked at Native Americans as an inferior people because the technology that they had was inferior. We had over in Europe much better weaponry. We had horses. There was actually no horses in the New World, guys, until we bring them over here. I know a lot of you, when you think about Native Americans, one of the first thoughts you'd have was, yeah, Indians up on horses. They didn't have them for hundreds of years until we bring them here. So we were more adept with combat. We had better weapons. We had horses. We had better, military tactics in Europe than the New World Native Americans had. Also, we bring with us from Europe into the New World a slew of diseases, like you guys saw on the triangular trade and Columbian exchange slides, that the native populations, no matter what tribe you were from, had never seen over here before in the New World. And so not really even understanding what they're doing, because most people don't understand germs and how they spread and how they work, come over here and infect millions by the time everything's said and done. Millions of Native Americans. Entire tribes, by the hundreds of tribes, are wiped out from various diseases that Europe brought over here. Now, I know a common question I get is, well, wait a second. If we're killing everybody off in the New World because of disease, weren't there New World diseases that made their way to Europe? How come a whole bunch of people aren't dying over in Europe? It did happen. There were diseases that came over to Europe, but here's the thing. Europeans had lived a life for a long time, many generations, of a lot of people packed in close proximity, right? So more illnesses, more disease, more germs spread because of filthy living conditions in the towns and cities, of packed, crowded living arrangements and towns. And so their immune systems in Europe were actually a lot better than the Native Americans' immune systems over in the New World, because the Native American tribes of North and South America, they lived far apart from each other, in small tribal groups. They shifted with the seasons. They were out in open, fresh air and nature. They could go long periods of time without, really interacting with other groups of people. And they really didn't have very many large cities. Did they exist? Yes. We get into that when we talk about the Aztecs, Incas, and the Mayans and stuff. There was some large cities and big populations, but they're kind of the exceptions to the rules. A lot of the Native Americans were just out in open air and fresh air and not as many people, so they had weaker immune systems than the Europeans. So do diseases go both ways? Yes, but by far and away, European disease spreading to the New World was way more deadly to Native Americans than anything the Indians passed on to Europe, okay? So keeping that into perspective as I continue, all right, the kings and queens, they want all this land. So they come over here, they conquer pieces of the New World despite Native Americans' objections because they're getting killed off by disease that I just explained, and they are looked at as an inferior people, which wasn't true. They were just different in culture and ways of life than Europeans, but Europeans looked down on the natives, okay? And they really just kind of steal the land from the natives and take over. The ownership of land worked differently in Europeans' minds. I can claim this and create a physical contract that I sign and it is mine. In a lot of Native American cultures, you don't own the land. The land is a gift from whichever gods that particular tribe worships in. They, travel with the seasons and it's kind of on loan to them. They don't own it. So that also was not in their favor, that they didn't understand all these contracts and owning rights of land. And so in come the Europeans claiming land all over the New World in North and South America, and they put colonies there. Why do they want colonies? They're going to make these colonies, which are settlements that they hope will eventually turn into towns and thriving cities, right? Work for them. What's over here in this land that we just claimed as ours? Is there raw materials? Is there minerals? Is there, new plant life or animal life we can use? Okay, how can we use this land to create harvest for us and, expand farming or farm goods and trade and get things from the colonies so that the mother country, whoever owns them is called the mother country, right, can make more money. Because there was a thing around in the Age of Exploration, guys, called mercantilism, okay? So mercantilism is the idea that a nation's power depends on its wealth. The wealthier you are, the more powerful you're going to be. Makes sense. A lot of times that is true. The wealthier someone or a club or a group or a country is, the more power they tend to have, the more influence, right? So wealth equals power. That's mercantilism. Wealth equals power. Well, the whole world is practicing this. There's only so much power to go around in this pie of power, and we want our slice, says a lot of the different European countries. And so they're going to go claim land, especially in the New World, create colonies there because of mercantilism, the idea that the more power we have, the wealthier we're going to be, or the more wealth we have, the more powerful we're going to be. And we're going to make these colonies work for us. They're going to farm for us. They're going to get raw materials for us. They're going to create things for us that we, as the mother country, whoever we might be, maybe we're England or Spain or Portugal, can use to create more power and wealth in our country. Okay, so what's a raw material? Because this was something, especially in North America, that England, for example, had the 13 colonies do. Raw materials are things that by themselves are not very helpful. For example, wood. Wood all by itself, not super helpful. Cotton all by itself, not super helpful. Silk, all by itself, not super helpful. But those are raw materials. Raw materials are something that you will end up using to create a finished product. So they'd have their colonies cut down trees and, turn them into lumber. And they'd have them grow tobacco or grow cotton or grow other crops, right? And they would have them, collect spices and do other things, collect minerals, right, in the soil and things. And then they'd ship them off to Europe, in the 13 colonies example, to England, and then England would make a finished product out of it. They'd take the wood and they would turn it into furniture. They'd take the cotton and they would turn it into clothing and blankets, okay, and so on and so on. So the colonies were an intricate part of the mother countries back in England getting wealthier and wealthier because the colonies are providing all of this raw material for the mother countries to use to make more products, to sell more things, to become more powerful and more wealthy. All right. So that is the kind of the whole cycle of what is happening there. All right, you guys. So this brings us to the end of the Age of Exploration 8.1 PowerPoint. Make sure you got good left-hand side questions. Don't forget you're looking for about a 16-sentence summary full of good details, examples, and vocab throughout the lecture. Okay? Do your best. If you have any questions, you can always ask or email me. And I hope you are well, and I will talk to you guys soon.